Did you know there's a detail hidden in the book of Revelation that could completely change how we see the end times? Nearly 2,000 years ago, on the rugged island of Patmos, the last apostle, John, received a vision that has fascinated and puzzled people for centuries. We all know about the dramatic symbols and prophecies, but there's a subtle clue, often overlooked, that might just be the key to it all. Let's rewind to 95 AD. The Roman Empire is at its peak, and Christians are facing brutal persecution. John, now in his 80s, is exiled on Patmos, a desolate island prison. It's in this place of suffering that he receives the revelation of Jesus Christ. For centuries, theologians and believers have debated its meaning, but buried within its verses is a specific passage that rarely gets the spotlight it deserves. In Revelation chapter 11, John talks about two witnesses prophesying for 1,160 days. But here's where it gets interesting. He mentions several time periods: 42 months, 1,260 days, and a time times and half a time. At first glance, they all seem to point to 3.5 years. But a closer look reveals a pattern. John seems to distinguish between two different timelines, one for the non-believers, or the nations, and another for God's chosen people. This suggests there might not be one single period of tribulation, but two distinct phases, affecting different groups of people at different times. This idea alone could reshape our entire end times timeline. This isn't the first time John's words have caused a stir. Throughout history, interpretations of Revelation have led to major controversies. In the 2nd century, a man named Montanus declared the New Jerusalem would land in his hometown, leading his followers to sell everything and wait. When nothing happened, the early church grew wary of literal interpretations. Later, during the Middle Ages, figures like Joachim of Fiore divided history into ages, and many even identified the Pope as the Antichrist, fueling the fires of the Protestant Reformation. Each era has tried to fit John's prophecies into its own context, often with dramatic results. Let's go back to that forgotten detail. There's a fascinating mathematical pattern that most people miss. John speaks of 144,000 sealed from the 12 tribes of Israel, 12,000 from each tribe. But he also describes an innumerable multitude from all nations. The numbers aren't just random. Could the letters to the 7 churches in Revelation 2 and 3 be more than just messages to first-century communities? Some scholars believe they represent 7 successive eras of church history. If that's true, the final church, Laodicea, described as lukewarm, would be our current era. And here's the twist. John doesn't say this church will be raptured away before trouble starts. Instead, he calls on the individuals within it to overcome. This suggests that true believers will be mixed with nominal ones right until the end, and the tribulation itself will be the process that separates them. Finally, let's talk about those misunderstood symbols. The mark of the beast, 666, has been blamed on everything from barcodes to microchips, but John was writing to a first-century audience. Using a Hebrew system called gematria, the name Nero Caesar adds up to exactly 666. This doesn't mean Nero was the final Antichrist, but a type of him. John seems to use a principle of double fulfillment, where prophecies have a partial fulfillment in his time and a final, complete fulfillment at the end of days. This forgotten detail, this idea of layered fulfillment and distinct timelines, forces us to look at John's prophecies not as a simple, linear roadmap, but as a complex, divine pattern that is still unfolding today. What we thought we knew might just be the beginning of the story. Thanks for watching. If this sparked your curiosity, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next deep dive. See you in the next video.